My neighbor called CPS on everyone with kids, so I made sure she'd never call anyone again. Helen had CPS on speed dial and used it like other people used Yelp reviews. The Bradshaw kids jumped on their trampoline without her approved safety protocols, so she called. The new mom let her 4-year-old dress herself, resulting in mismatched clothes, so she called. My daughter ate her lunch on the front steps instead of inside, so she called. Every deviation from Helen's parenting standards meant another report. The Bradshaw family never recovered from Helen's first attack. 3 kids jumped on their trampoline while dad grilled burgers nearby. Helen watched through her window and documented supposed safety violations. She reported it as child endangerment. The investigation consumed 2 weeks of their lives. Mr. Bradshaw lost his promotion after missing work for CPS meetings. Helen targeted the war widow next. Her 4-year-old coped through choosing her own outfits. She wore dinosaur shirts with tutus and rainbow socks, all things her father bought her. Helen photographed these outfits as evidence of neglect. The mother had buried her husband 3 months earlier. The CPS visit shattered her remaining strength. She now picked every piece of clothing her daughter wore, though it wasn't the same as her daughter deciding daddy was going to dress her that day. My turn came in June. My 9-year-old took her sandwich outside to eat while reading. I monitored her from my home office window perfectly. Helen filmed it all and called CPS immediately. She reported unsupervised outdoor eating and potential choking hazards. The worker arrived during my biggest client presentation, the contract that would have covered our mortgage. I lost focus and nearly lost the $800,000 contract. But worse, my daughter internalized the fear and refused to eat anywhere but inside. Everything shattered when my 6-year-old's action figure broke one afternoon. He was exhausted from swimming and inconsolable about his toy. I comforted him in our driveway using calm parenting techniques. Helen filmed it all through her window. She recorded my child's vulnerable moment for her files. The CPS worker who came wasn't there to check boxes. This was a serious investigation due to multiple reports. She discussed temporary foster placement while my children listened. They clung to me crying about being taken away. My ex-husband's call that night was the final straw. He'd used the CPS reports for full custody from Phoenix. I sat in my car until midnight after that call. Staring at Helen's dark house, something changed inside me. Years of fear turned into cold determination. She'd weaponized child services against good parents. She traumatized dozens of families. Now she needed to learn how it felt. The next morning, I started researching Helen through basic online searches and public records. She had a sister named Elena living 2 states over with 3 young kids. They hadn't spoken in 5 years after fighting over their mother's estate. Elena's social media showed she had lupus and struggled with her children. She also had surgery scheduled for next month with no childcare arranged. I reached out to other parents Helen had terrorized and created a group chat. We discovered Helen always ramped up her calls when unemployed and bitter. She just lost her job as an office manager 3 weeks ago. She'd been rejected from 3 different positions at family service agencies since then. The key detail was that Helen had never actually raised children herself. She'd only judged parenting from her window without experiencing the exhausting reality. My cousin lived near Elena and helped set things in motion. She mentioned that with surgery coming up, she should ask family for help with the kids. She was quick to call Helen asking for 2 weeks of childcare. Elena's 3 kids arrived on a Tuesday morning and Helen looked panicked immediately. She had a 4-year-old who didn't sleep through the night and had sensory issues. The 7-year-old had ADHD and couldn't sit still for 5 minutes. The 10-year-old was moody and missed his mom terribly. By Thursday afternoon, the 4-year-old was having a complete breakdown in Helen's front yard. She'd run out of his favorite juice boxes and he couldn't handle the change. He screamed and threw himself on the grass while Helen tried everything to calm him. I sipped coffee on my porch and shook my head with obvious concern. Mrs. Bradshaw came out and we exchanged worried looks about the situation. The 7-year-old told anyone who would listen, "Aunt Helen yells all the time and makes gross food." The 10-year-old started walking to the corner store alone because Helen was overwhelmed. She forgot to childproof her house and the 4-year-old had bruises everywhere. The kids looked exhausted because Helen didn't know any of their routines. Our parent group documented everything using Helen's own methods against her. We took photos of kids looking disheveled and Helen looking frazzled. On day 9, Mrs. Bradshaw made the call using all Helen's favorite phrases. She reported immediate danger and concerning patterns of neglect requiring urgent investigation. The social worker arrived during Friday's lunch when chaos reigned supreme. The 4-year-old was throwing food while the older 2 fought viciously. Helen tried explaining but looked like she hadn't slept in days. The house was chaos with no proper beds and inadequate children's food. When Elena called that evening about surgery complications extending the stay Helen couldn't refuse, Helen never made another CPS call. The investigation flagged her in the system she'd weaponized for years. She moved to a retirement community and disconnected her phone entirely. Someone saw her run away from a crying child at the grocery store. Her hands shook whenever she thought about calling anyone. She created her own permanent phobia of the weapon she'd abused.